Hello, everybody, and welcome to the stream scene. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Monday because we have a fantastic show for you talking about streamer merch. I think this is actually the first time we've had this discussion, and I am really excited to have two amazing guests that know way more about this kind of stuff than I do. But first, let's get to our hosts, our lovely co-hosts, the Hunter Wild. What's up, Hunter? How you doing?
Hi, Loco. A little tired today, but I'm a little jazzed up. I'm a little jazzed. I'm a little excited. In part for the beautiful weather, in large part for the incredible co-host that I have on the show, Loco, and
that's me.
Even largest part, the actual subject and guest that we have today. The merch is such a curious space in this industry. It's one that a lot of people tackle with. It's something that I think a lot of us sort of feel we can roll with on default and just put something out. But then when you actually dive into the issue and trying to get something out there, you'll learn a lot pretty quickly, and usually through mistakes and failures. So a lot of what we're trying to do here today with our two guests is figure out how to avoid a lot of those pitfalls and get our heads screwed on straight, get the perspective right, and look at a lot of things that even if you've dabbled in or done quite a bit, I think of merch stuff, merch shop building, and branding with it, I think you can still get a ton. Based on what I've talked to Rockhart about for quite a bit, you still get a ton out of this show. So let's, without much further ado, let's introduce our guests today. We have Benny and Rockhart. Hello, my friends. How are you doing? If you wouldn't mind, one at a time, we'll let y'all duke it out for who goes first. Introduce yourselves. Let us know who you are and what you're about and why you're here. You got
Rockhart. You said Benny's name first, so
well, you can go. Okay. You can go first.
I don't know where he is actually. Is he over here? Is
there?
Yeah.
I'm to your. Wait, hold on. Let me do this. I'm to your right.
To my right. All right, perfect.
Yeah, there you go. There. Yep, that's the way. That's the way. Except I'm not behind you like that.
You are just standing behind me. That's great.
I'm right behind you, Rockhart. Yes, I'm Benny. I've been here before. I'm usually don't sound like this or look like this. Well, kind of like this. I'm actually a puppet streamer on Twitch. I don't even know if Rockhart knew that actually.
I did actually. I am familiar with you.
I know.
Oh.
I have a lot of friends in the character community, so I am very.
I've learned not to assume that anybody knows. I think slightly insulted a rather well-known streamer one time because I was like, "Oh, well, you've never seen my stream," because I thought we had an interaction before, and apparently we didn't, and I think he took a little bit of offense to it. So I was like, "Well, all right." So I'm learning now what you say and don't say to people. And
You've never seen my stream.
Yeah, well, that was exactly. It was the response was, I'm getting called out right now by this guy. I'm like, oh, that's not what I mean. I'm just, I'm a nice guy, I promise.
Nice guy, Benny. So,
awesome.
what are you about? Who are you? What you doing?
Well, I'm puppet streamer.
Why do we have you on the show?
Why do you have? I don't know why you have me on the show. Honestly.
Okay, cool.
I couldn't even answer the question of why are you here.
You volunteered, okay? Look, we trust you with this.
So I'm actually in the process of building a new merch store. I've been researching avenues and methods, and I'm kind of doing a lot of the building on my own. But I've reached a point now where turnkey solutions just won't work anymore. They won't work for me because the scales and stuff aren't. They're not something I think that my viewers can bear, and they're not something that I'm personally okay with. So I'm looking for other options, and I'm working on that. Hopefully to launch. My plan is to launch mid-January, with more things to come throughout the year in 2020.
That's awesome. What about you, Rockhart? What are you about?
Yeah, so my name is Andrew, aka Rockhart. So I've been a graphic designer for a little over 10 years now, and I have an emphasis in print, apparel, and product design. Some of my clients include Nike, Adidas. Actually, I had to write these down so make sure I didn't forget. Nike, Adidas, Mattel, Nickelodeon, Universal Studios, streetwear brands including Johnny Cupcakes, and a few big name streamers recently that you guys may have heard of, but I'm not going to tell you what they are.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right.
Keep
I also,
okay.
yeah, I don't want to throw out all the names. I have also owned and operated my own clothing line, Rockhart Clothing, for over 8 years now, and I've handled all the design of the products, the shipping, and fulfillment from my own studio. You can't see the giant mess that's over there. I specifically have that cut out of the screen.
Don't we all though? Like right outside our streamer box, like
I know.
just things on the ground, wires, like.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, you guys definitely don't want to see back here. That's why
I saw that photo you posted, Hunter, of your cable management just on your desk, and I definitely sympathize.
That was actually just for Death Stranding. That's not real.
Oh, okay.
I literally put strands out so that it would look like that.
Ah.
All right. Well, now I feel even worse.
yeah, because he's got it together, but you don't. But he won't show you that he's got it together.
I won't. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna brag or nothing.
Right.
I
don't wanna
actually
be
know
that-
what I'm doing.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm pretty together.
Yeah, so this is pretty exciting then. So Benny, it sounds like you are, I mean, you've explored options, you've looked at it, you've given it your analysis. You're not satisfied with a lot of the I mean, I'm obviously just kind of parroting what you said, and looking at building out something that is a good fit for what you want and what you need and what you feel is justifiable for you. And Rockhart, you've got an intense amount of expertise and experience, and you're probably growing in some really interesting directions as well, and going to be sharing a lot of that perspective. I really want to avoid using the standard cliche terminology, the do's and don'ts and whatnot, but it's probably true. And the ways that we can shape our perspective. Yeah, the tips and tricks, the do's and don'ts.
How to avoid all the mistakes I made.
Yes, we want to hear all of your mistakes.
I honestly made a lot of mistakes, and I still make mistakes to this day for sure. But that's how you learn.
Well, that's how you become successful. You have to. If you don't make mistakes, it's because you literally never tried.
And when you get knocked down, you gotta get up again. You know.
Never gonna keep you down.
Yeah, I knew it was coming. I knew it. It's just like saying you are my fire. Somebody else is gonna say my one desire. It's gonna happen.
So.
I saw it. It was coming.
I want to talk really quick from me and Hunter, like our experience with merch too before we dive into it. So
yeah, it's a great idea.
For me, I started my first merch store was, oh god, what is it called? Spreadshirt? I don't even know if I don't think I've ever seen another streamer use Spreadshirt. It was around when I first started streaming. Wow. I got some merch like probably within the first year of me streaming. Silly stuff, like just stupidest designs ever. But so Spreadshirt was where I was initially, and then I have been with DBH for the last, I want to say like 2 years. When I did my rebranding, I launched a store with them.
What'd you do that? Well, was that 2 years ago?
I think it was about
really?
I think it was 3 years maybe.
Time flies. Okay, let's see. I started with Teespring. Remember
yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
I assume they're still around somewhere, but they've definitely changed shape, and they used to do like the formal and official Twitch stuff.
Yeah. With the Twitch logo on the side, they're like the only shirt company.
Get it. Yeah, so I did that. Let's see, I did that 5 years ago, and I had a limited run. That was kind of how they did their stuff. That you could only get then, and if you didn't take it right then and there, you won't be able to get it again. I wear it on stream on occasion, and people are like, "Oh, where can I get that shirt?" I'm like, "Maybe the next time that we have a limited run, you should maybe think about spending your hard-earned money on that one, so you can do that next time." I have been around the block with a bunch of different producers and distributors, mostly DBH for the last few years. Been incredibly satisfied with that, but I did have some experience with going way outside the box and taking it custom start to finish. including, as we were talking about on the pre-show stuff that's available on patreon.com/StreamerSquare for our behind the stream scene stuff.
Got the plug, yes.
That I went through the route of finding people to handle and manage as an intermediary and for all the distribution stuff, and going through Alibaba and having everything handled completely outside of what we normally think of with things like Redbubble and Spreadshirt and Teespring and DBH.
So you went full fulfillment company, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Like a drop shipper or just I'm just curious. Like, were you going through somebody that basically would print and ship your ship to someone else, or were you like handling a lot of that stuff in home?
I wasn't shipping anything myself.
Okay.
But it wasn't like a separate company that was doing this. It was, you know what? It was very awkward and weird in particular was what it was.
Which is probably the reason why you don't do it anymore.
Yeah. One and done. One and done.
Well, the reason why I asked is because I'm actually, the things that I'm working on right now are trying to play to my strengths, which are I can do development, I can manage communication and things like that, and I can offsort. I can, I'm a designer when I need to be, but I know when to stop. And like t-shirt design is not something I'm going to do. I'm going to hand that to somebody else who can do it for me.
Right.
But I'm focusing mainly on like I'm specifically going with what can I drop ship so I can take the logistics and stuff out of handling handling my merchandise, but also do it in a way that I can price it to what I think is like a no-brainer for somebody who wants to buy it, where I make a little bit of money. I'm not concerned about making a ton of money. I want to make it so it's enough that when somebody comes by, they say, this shirt's not going to break my bank. I can go ahead and buy this. This, towel is, $10. I'll pay $10 for a nice printed towel or something. I don't have printed towels. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
That'd be cool.
But you can get it done. That's something you actually can get done. There's several people that will do it for you and drop ship it. So all you have to do is set up a storefront for it. But I'm trying to like focus on that sort of thing, because communicating with people, like what is available, how do you handling the money and things like that. I either can do that or I have people that will do that for me.
Right.
But
sure.
But when you try to take all that, if you're somebody like Rockhart who's like got the experience of handling that themselves, it's a no-brainer. Like do that, but that's not me. I've got way too many things.
Do that within a use case for sure.
Right. Well, I mean, you have the experience doing the design work, managing the product. I mean, you've done all that, which I'm dying to hear more about that. But
right.
I can tell you, it's definitely not in my wheelhouse.
Like, what are we actually talking about here when we're talking about merch? Like, what is the purpose? Like, there are so many things, and I think this is one of them within the industry, where we tend to get an automatic perspective on it, right? Like, oh, I see so many. It's one of the very highly visible qualities, right? You see, like, Miss Popular Streamer over here who's got tons of merch, and everybody sees it because people are always wearing it at conventions and whatnot. You see it on Twitter all the time, whatever. But it's really easy to miss all of the factors that get involved. So instead of working with the assumption that everybody needs merch, maybe they don't. I want to hear from y'all what you think about that. Like, what is the purpose behind it? When should you consider it? Are you waiting a long time for it? Are you waiting for a certain, established element of the career or a strength of the community? Do you want to launch right into streaming with like having a merch store? Is that too early? What is the value and purpose of merch as a streamer?
Yeah, so I think my opinion is that merchandise is primarily used to strengthen your brand, and it's not so much about the money, because for most of these options that you'll have, it's really not a lot of money. Like off of a shirt or a mug, you make a couple bucks, because like you don't want to charge like $30 for a t-shirt. That's ridiculous, right? Like you kind of want to, I think it's super important to keep the cost low. You'd rather people wear your merch and have it at the, in my opinion, for the lowest possible cost, so that you have people repping your brand versus like, making like a couple extra bucks off of it.
I think that you could actually look at it the exact opposite direction. Because if you think about it, merch is the one thing that you can actually control the quality. You can measure the actual demand, whether people actually want the thing, and products are way more profitable than services. And your stream is a service. You can't measure what is going to make somebody sub to you. You just can't, because that requires like direct influence on a person,
Mm-hmm.
and they're paying into something that they're actually not getting a measurable return on. Whereas with a product, they can point to a thing that I spent my money on this and I got this physical item. And it was one of the things that I was told very early on is like merchandising and sponsorships, you know, the things where you can directly correlate. I did something and I got some money for it, and then somebody on the other end expected something from me and they paid me money. Those are things that are sustainable because you can point to exactly where that money went and what it went to. Whereas things like subs and tips and stuff like that are always going to be fairly fluid and could drop off at the drop of a hat.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on, I guess, the way you angle your merch store. Like, is it for your stream or your community, or is it for, like, do you just want to make cool looking stuff that, like, anyone buys kind of thing, right? Do you want to have, like, a clothing line versus, like, a merch store, I guess?
And that's kind of how, so I should have probably mentioned this in the intro as well. I started a clothing line first. I did the exact opposite. So I started Rockhart as a passion project while I was working as a creative outlet. And then I only started streaming about 1.5 years ago. So it's different, I think, for me in that I already had this established brand, and then I just added on streaming, while most people are probably approaching this as a streamer and want to add on some sort of physical goods component to it.
Right.
Yeah. And that's for the,
and I think...
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, and I think merch can work both ways. Depending on what your goal is for it. If your goal is recognition, if you want people to wear your logo, first off, you should decide if that's a good move, if people actually want to wear your logo. But if that's your goal, that's fine. If you want to make something that's cool that people will want to wear and will recognize you for as a brand as a whole, I think that is a much stronger position. And I feel like that appeals to a broader base, because people will buy a t-shirt because it looks cool. Less people will buy it because it has your name on it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
In most cases.
Yeah, I mean, it works. It really does work both ways. And it's really a matter of scale. You know, like how much can you scale? And I mean, like everything, anytime you make it a business decision like this, the first thing you should think about is what do I have to do to make it sustainable? And I think the last time I was on here, I talked about the MVP, the minimum viable product. What is the smallest thing I need to get out there? What is the least work I have to do to turn something into something that people want to consume, come back to consume, and turns into a model that I can replicate and grow on.
Right.
And I think merch is no different from that.
And there's so many factors that go into that too, including the storefront you're using, how you're printing it, the quality, whether or not you get customization of packaging or inserts into it or any other sort of branding elements, and even the website itself. Like, are you just going through a Design by Humans website, turnkey, like big commerce site, or something completely custom? I think those are all factors to consider too.
I would dare say I actually like Design by Humans for that very reason. Like it's very simple. They're going to manage all the logistics for you. The customers are going to wind up paying a premium for it, and you're going to get less profit. But at least you can kind of gauge, like, do people actually buy this stuff? It costs me nothing to really get started. Do people actually use it? And if not, what if I change things around? Like, what's the thing that I'm going to have to do to make this work? And I
think there's like tiers to that too. Like you said, the intro level is those print on demand, Design by Humans, not Shopify. That's a platform. I'm blanking on the other ones.
Streamlabs has one too now.
Streamlabs, yeah. All these platforms, especially ones that are like pushing towards streamers, those are literally no risk to you in terms of money, but could harm your brand image if you're just pushing a bunch of logo stuff that nobody wants to pick up.
And again, like I said, you're pushing the cost of that logistic of pushing that logistics onto somebody else. That cost goes to your customer. It doesn't go to you. Like unless
Yeah,
you
you make
unless
very
you
little
go in there,
money.
yeah, unless you go in there and say like I want to make $1 on every T-shirt I make, it's still going to be a fairly expensive T-shirt, but it won't be as expensive.
Yep.
You know, like, but if you really want to, if your goal is to actually make money, like make good money on every sale, your customers are going to be paying more because they're paying for the logistics, the support.
Right. I mean, so the nice thing about that also is the like you mentioned, like the level of automation that happens. Like, you know, most of us don't have time to vet you know, personalize merchandise stores and, you know, do all that manual work to, you know, quality check, set the prices, build the store, integrate it with your website if need be. You know, using like Streamlabs or DBH really does help with that. For those that want to have something where it's like, you know, you just kind of like on the basic level of like, I want some merch for my brand. Like my viewers want to buy some shirts and mugs. Let's set something up. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's not too
Customer
taxing on your
service
time.
also a quality that gets factored
For sure.
in there too, because you don't have to do any of that. Somebody's like, "Hey, my
Yep.
shirt
Yep.
came in all messed up." It's like, "Oh yeah," then go talk to, you know, it's like send an email. They have a support line. Boom, done.
What-
Yeah, I definitely have a separate email just for customer service.
Yeah.
I think when we before
So-
we got started, you actually, you know, we were talking about that I was on DBH, and I want to make it clear that I don't have like anything against DBH. I'm just ready to
No.
move on to the next step, personally.
Yeah,
There's
that's
different
fair.
there's different tiers and there's different levels of quality with printing and stuff like that, and which we can definitely get into. I would say there's like 3 tiers that you could go for printing merch for a streamer. It first is the entry level designed by humans. Next, if you want to take on that responsibility, is handling it all yourself, and that can scale up into a certain point, and then eventually, or if you don't want to deal with that, you just go straight to a fulfillment service. That a lot of screen printers and other production companies will actually offer fulfillment and drop shipping as a service within their company themselves, which is something to look into and is interesting. It's something I've looked into, depending on levels of busyness I've gotten to. But I feel like those are the kind of 3. And the larger you go, in theory, the more money you would make if the sales are there and the higher quality of the product. So it is definitely a big graph up, but
I think that's why like things like designed by humans and Streamlabs are valuable, because you can change your inventory out quite a bit and kind of test
for
and
sure.
see what works and what doesn't. And if you see like, oh, well, you know, this shirt actually sells pretty well, you know, what if I did more in this sort of vein? And
since it's print on demand, you don't have to order 100 of them and hope that you sell through.
Right. I mean, because that's the question of investment right there is how many, because if you were to just say, I want to sell these T-shirts, I want to go through somebody else, I'm going to handle it all on my own. You have to buy the inventory up front. And that's a huge investment on your part.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's less and less and less the more you have to buy, but consider just a T-shirt. It's not just a T-shirt. It's an extra small and a large and a medium and a 2XL and a 3XL and a 4XL. And you got to have all of those.
And if it's posters, that's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sizing for clothing is definitely, it's hard to get that balance right. And I even still get it wrong. What orders of like what sizes you put the most quantity into.
Yeah.
And it totally depends on the design too. It can totally fluctuate. Yeah, but yeah, you end up getting stuck with some inventory sometimes. And I actually have that very issue right now. I'm actually going to do a sale where I do a mystery shirt. You pick the size, and for X amount of money, I pick the design, and you better believe I'm taking all the stuff that's out of print that no one. Yeah,
I love that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because it's a chance for people to get something that hasn't been on the store for years, but it's also a way for me to get rid of the extra inventory. It's like, well, do I really want to just have one small of this shirt in the store that's been lingering there for like a year?
And you can't just put it up on the store, right? Because you have,
because then you get emails asking, when are you going to reprint it? And I'm like, I'm not going to reprint it. This is the only one left. Are you a small? If not, I'm sorry.
Right. Right. Well, okay. So that's funny. I had a situation like that today. I was actually looking at the Bungie store, and I was looking for the shirt, that the meme shirt of Zavala saying whether we wanted it or not, we've stepped into a war with the Cabal, and it does that whole speech printed on the front of the shirt. I was like, I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna buy that shirt. I'm gonna buy that shirt. Went online. All right. XL, no. Large, no. Medium, no. 2XL, no. The only size they had was extra small. And they were like, "Is last chance. I was like, well, I mean, if you have
like
that
a shirt that would fit Benny.
No, it's a women's extra small, so it's actually too big for him. He needs like a boy's extra small. So he's got a very small body. But it's funny because like that's a company that can handle that.
Yeah.
Like you probably can't handle that because it'll sit, like you said, it'll sit there forever. Forever. You don't have.
That's the other thing. I also restrict what sizes I get. So I actually only go down to small, and I only get a couple of those, and I only go up to triple XL, and I only get a couple of those, and then my bulk is in large and XL, and then medium and double XL are like still a few, but not as many, because I found over the years that that's kind of the range that people go in, at least for my stuff. But like I said, that's trial and error over years, and even then I still get stuck with too many smalls or too many triple XLs that no one want to buy specifically for that design.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like
there's a demographic issue there as well. And something that I noticed relatively early on is there are a ton of women in my community, and focusing less on having like women's cuts and designs that may be more appealing to a female audience.
That's another email that I get a decent amount too.
Surprising hindrance that I had early on. I was like, oh hell yeah, we got to go in and we got to have like an actual like relatively equal distribution here.
Yeah, and I want to offer women's cuts as well. This is actually all my stuff is printed on fashion fit tees, so they are slimmer than a traditional t-shirt, but they're not specific. They're unisex, but they're not specifically designed for women, so not all women can wear them. And I definitely feel that, but then it comes back to inventory. It's like, well, just being honest, most of my audience is men. I have to pick the largest group to the most benefit from it, really.
You hate women. Like, you can just say it. It's fine.
I do.
Oh, man.
My wife better not be watching this.
It is actually funny it's actually funny that you guys got on that conversation, though, because me, of the four of us, I've got probably the most unique audience. A lot of people that come by my stream are actually parents who let their kids sit down and watch. This is the whole reason why I went with the family-friendly thing. Right. Because I just discovered there were so many kids.
Yeah.
Well,
that's interesting.
The problem is most sellers won't sell children's clothes. They could, but they won't because there's this whole approval process they've got to go through, and it's just too much trouble. Whereas if I were to say I'm going to shoulder that responsibility, that frees me up to do it myself. Yeah. And I've got legal counsel that can kind of help me with that process. So
I haven't even tried to broach children's clothes. That's a topic that I would never really look for my clothing line. I mean, it's interesting, and there's definitely a market there, but it's definitely not something that I would.
You mean like
handle.
toddlers?
So you were brave.
The parents don't want to buy their toddlers like Grim Reapers with giant scythes.
I mean, some do.
I sure as hell would.
There's a lot of goth parents out there that are really this is what they're looking for.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sage and Moonshadow, they got to get something.
What about stepping out into other directions with it, right? Because everybody's familiar with the shirts. What other options are out there? And like certainly we can get really like weird and obscure, but when we're talking about at least the stuff that is a little more standardized, but still not your hoodie, your shirt, that kind of stuff. What else are we looking at, and why? What kinds of things do we need to be considering with those? And then I also want to talk about the super weird ones,
like your pins, patches, stickers.
Yeah. Pins are getting really popular.
I want to fix that on patches real quick because I know Rockhart, you've got like tons of stuff. But one of the things that in the after the storm, we had a lot of time with no power and no internet, and it was just like camping out for months and months and months. And when I came back, I was like, that's the thing. I want Benny to be on an adventure, and I want him to be like in a camp. And it came to the idea like, well, let's make it a summer camp. So Benny's like the head counselor of a summer camp. And then I had the idea, what if when people do things, we give them merit badges. Like you follow Benny on Twitter, you got your bird watching badge. You're on the Discord, you got the communications badge. And I immediately like went out looking for, where can I order patches? And can I get it to where I don't have to, again, my thing is trying to reduce my management of the logistics. Can I get it from somebody who will just do the patch on order, per order, like somebody who does like embroidery on demand and then ship it out? And I found that. So that's something that I want to do now, is make merit badges for the people on my stream. How long you've been, but now the other side of that is I want the only thing you have to pay for would be shipping. So I have to set aside a certain amount of money every month to handle those orders. But to me, it seemed like a great way to provide some cohesion to my stream. And I'm sorry, Rockhart's got a ton more to talk about, but I really wanted to get that out because that's
awesome.
That's an idea that's gotten me very excited.
I might actually have to hit you up about that stitch on demand, because anyone that I found has been prohibitively expensive.
Oh, I actually know an individual that will do it.
Cool.
Okay.
I
And
want to talk about that too,
that's
because
different.
I had a similar
but
months ago and haven't been able to do anything with it.
But actually, is like the person that does it is like she's set up to do this. Is what she does, like basically what she does for a living. So, like basically, if I give her design, she's ready to go, and they can be out within a week. So,
yeah. I will say that pins have gotten super popular too, especially like they're great for conventions. You just buy them in bulk and then give them out to your viewers at meet and greets, stuff like that. Also for like, I know people do it for like 1 year subs or something. They'll mail a pin.
yeah,
I would say
that was one of the cooler things I saw in your store. Honestly, was the numbered pin.
Yes, yeah. So if you sub for a year at my channel, you join the road crew. So you get an individually numbered pin, access to secret parts of the Discord, newsletter, all that stuff, discount code.
The moment I saw that, I was like, what in the world do they have me on their show for? They've got this guy.
I think mugs are really popular too. Like those are very common with like your typical print on demand type stores, right?
Yeah, mugs are something that I'm asked a lot. Like, when are we gonna have mugs?
Yeah,
and that's on my agenda.
So
I got
from
these as well done.
Ooh.
Oh, those look awesome.
Yeah, and they're just what do you call it? What do
acrylic.
you call this kind of thing? Yes, they are.
Yeah, just like acrylic keychains. Or
key fobs. Keychains, they're dangly bits. I don't know.
Dangly parts.
What do you sell? Dangly bits. You want to buy some?
Don't Google acrylic dangly bits.
I was thinking the same thing. Shrinky dinks.
Well, I mean, yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had glassware and mugs in my store. This was many years ago, and I actually ended up getting rid of them because, as a personal, like me shipping them out, it was way too much hassle. But for like the print on demand stuff, that's awesome. I have a mug actually of a logo I did for a friend that I use as a pencil holder. But yeah, the quality for that stuff is actually really good compared to a lot of their things. Pins and patches, I don't know of any, and I am probably wrong because there probably is some now. I don't know of any fulfillment like Design by Human style that'll offer those, because those do at least pins require you to actually physically make a die and actually make a lot of them for it to make sense. Yeah, there's no real prototype. There's no real one-off.
Hunter was asking about. He said, I want to make little porcelain figures, and I was like, well, that's the kind of thing like that's going to
be ready to order 500 of them. Yeah.
It's gonna require a big cost thing, because you have to pay for prototyping, and then you have to pay for
I would just
inventory.
go plant them around Seattle. I would just bike around and just put them places.
Listen, they tried that for the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, and look what happened there. Wow, I'm dragging back like 20 years ago to get that one, but
oh man.
So what about obscure things, obscure products that you've done?
Yeah, I've done everything from turntable mats to I have a custom skull ring that I actually worked with a sculptor to make, and then a ring factory to forge. I'm actually getting those restocked because they've been mostly out of stock, except for those one little size. The people that have a size 6 ring.
I'll take it from my pinky.
Yeah, like I leave those in the shop because those are actually to make, and I'm not going to be discounting those anytime soon. Like I've kind of run the gamut, and a lot of the times, it's basically whatever I want to have personally. I also have like bottle openers and stuff too that I've just made because I needed a bottle
cool
opener,
thing.
and then I ordered 100 more of them so other people could get them.
That's a pretty cool gauge because you can be like, if I want it, somebody else is going to want it too.
That is my litmus test for all the designs that I make. Am I willing to put X amount of money in to get this for myself and then potentially make the money back from other people?
Am I prepared to
because
eat
they
this
like it
because I want it?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And more often than not, it works out. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, yeah, more often than not, it works out, but it really has to be. I mean, I do have to like filter it through. Like, I do have some tees that are more just for me. Like, I have a t-shirt that says Rockhart Records, and while I have sold a few of them, it goes back to that whole name thing. Unless you are familiar with the brand and really a brand advocate, are you going to buy that t-shirt? Probably not. So the majority of my t-shirts are more graphic, and then I have branding on the inside of the thing. Whenever I ship out a package, it has a branded envelope that I actually have screen printed. There are stickers and buttons and all other kinds of freebies included inside too. So they're not only just getting the t-shirt, it's a whole experience when they open it up. I actually owe this to Johnny Cupcakes, who is a t-shirt clothing line. Their whole philosophy was it should be an experience when you get the package. And they actually inspired me to start my clothing line. Johnny Earl, the owner, I actually ended up meeting in person. And then 6 years later, I ended up doing some t-shirts for him, which is kind of crazy. Like this guy inspired me to get into clothing design and apparel design. But if you go and look at his stuff, his whole brand is about the experience of actually ordering the thing, receiving the thing, and being part of this bigger community of fans.
That's awesome.
I'm very cool.
Yeah, you should definitely check them out.
So I do want to make sure we hit like some really important questions. Like the basic one is like, when do you start selling merchandise? When's a good time to get into it?
I want to toss out an idea on that. I personally, I think you ought to wait as long as your tiny little heart can hold out. Because we get so invested in our own ideas and in our own brands, and we feel energized, and we feel like everybody else feels that way too, which is not always the case. And I think that, and we hinted on this earlier, and I could be way wrong about this. I'd be interested to hear everybody else's perspective. That you run into a serious problem, I think, when you have a bunch of stuff set up and nobody buys it. It's a really debilitating for you. It's deflating. It's disenchanting. And it also can be an indicator to the community, rightfully or wrongfully, it doesn't really matter, that you're not worth investing in. If you've gotten a whole alert system and everything for it, and it's functional, and you're talking about it all the time, and you're pitching it, and nothing shows up, people can pay attention to that and often think, well, nobody else is doing it. It must not be worthwhile. And that's not necessarily true, but it doesn't matter. The optics, the public perception, and how we all feel that connection can be a huge driving force there. I say try and make it, in terms of the initiation of it, try and make it something special, try and create a build-up to it, try and release the floodgates and have it be this amplified event of a thing.
Yeah, it should be an event.
Yeah, and then cut it off. And maybe at some point you release an entire store, and it's like a popular demand thing, and you try and build it back up for an event kind of a thing. But I think that is something that can play incredibly well and feel motivating for you, and also make it even more valuable for you to invest in an artist. So you're actually paying for quality work, instead of like, hey, just scribble something out and I'll get it on a shirt, which nobody's gonna buy.
That's a whole conversation.
I think
So I think that's my thinking.
I think that so Billy Corgan was on Joe Rogan months ago, and one of the things he said was that when he started, when they got their first record deal, basically they were told, you got 4 years. You've got 4 years, and after that, you're not commercially viable anymore.
This is for Smashing Pumpkins, I assume?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
He's like
just clarifying for people who aren't our age.
he said, "Oh yeah, you're right. That's right. He's the one that doesn't sing. He whines."
Please carry on with your story. Listen, my heavens.
I love Smashing Pumpkins, but you gotta admit, the man
Anyways.
he, but he says, you've basically got 4 years, and that's how long you're commercially viable. And I think that's true basically of most entertainers. Like there's some that break the mold, but you want to try to build an audience for that period of time. And then after that period of time, you kind of know like what I refer to as the core 20. Who are those people that are basically going to go with you no matter what you do? Like they're here for you. They're part of your community. And once you've built that, you can kind of continue to grow that. But you really want to try to make those people happy. And that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. I've identified who those people are. I see what they're asking me for, and that's the sort of thing that I'm going to try to work towards. And I think honestly, you should focus on that. Focus on who are the people that really are invested in you, because they're going to invest in your product too.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So I started selling t-shirts when I had 1 follower on Twitch because I went totally backwards.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. And I think actually more specifically, the question should be, when should you have product with just your logo on it?
Yeah.
Because I think you can start day one with a cool design. If you're an artist, or if you have a friend who's an artist,
Very
or
true.
if you have this idea that you really want to just pay a designer for it so you can order one and get it made, I think that's totally fine. And I mean, I would agree to not have alerts set up. I don't have alerts set up for sales. I don't want people knowing how many I sell or don't sell or
My
anything
alerts
like
are
that.
terrible. They literally stay on the screen and don't go away.
Oh,
I had to take
that
it
just
off.
looks like you're selling shirts all the time.
So
Infinite.
You better buy it before it's out.
Yeah. I have an idea for an integration that goes the other way, but I'm still sort of ruminating on it a little bit. When I get it all figured out, I'll tell you about it. But
yeah,
I'm gonna basically blue ball the entire audience.
But yeah, I think that question is, when do you put a logo on your store?
Right.
When is it just your name or just your brand? And I think it's basically what you said. When you have an audience, when you have a core group of people that want to do it, maybe you do make it a launch event where it's limited time only, and see how that goes, and then build it up from there. If you want to start a store now with cool ideas for stuff, like actual graphic t-shirts that have cool ideas and cool designs, and maybe somehow it ties into your stream, but it still is something cool that people want to wear, I think you can start whenever.
Yeah. I think that's actually the real question. It's not when do you start making merch. It's when do you start focusing on cultivating your merchandise.
Yeah.
So that it's like it's a product that you're like, okay, I'm the new line of shirts and mugs and stuff is coming. This is what our planned release looks like, as opposed to I'm going to throw something up there and just see if it works. Because if you're still at that design by humans phase, that's the time to do it. That's the time to experiment and see. Well,
and it's so easy to throw your logo on every little piece of product and then be surprised when it doesn't buy. You're devaluing your own brand by putting it on everything.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's
yes.
Wait, so
why?
why?
I see way too many people fall into that trap.
Well, consider every
because it's just oversaturation.
It's oversaturating. You see it on everything, and maybe it doesn't look good on a mug, or maybe it doesn't look good on a towel or something like that, but you still put it on there because maybe somebody will buy it.
Yeah.
I think that's the danger too.
But even then, it's like just a matter of like, it's just the kind of economics and perception, right? Something is intrinsically less valuable if it's literally everywhere. If it's constant, if it's ubiquitous, you just don't care. When it's unique and uncommon, and you might be the only person who has it, or one of 10 or whatever, like suddenly it doesn't even have to be good. Well, we're talking about merch, and realistically it should be good. But just speaking more broadly, we've seen this with all kinds of stuff where everybody's like, I don't get it. It's just not a cool thing, but people paying thousands of dollars for it. It's simply a matter of the supply and demand kind of a situation.
Okay.
I think it's like, think about all the local businesses in your area. Every single, like, so many of them have pens and mugs and T-shirts that you don't even think twice about. And it may not be that their designs are bad. It may just be that like everybody's got that pen. That
You
pen's
don't
everywhere.
necessarily look. You just
Right.
see
Yeah.
it.
I mean, like I needed the pen, but I'm no more likely to call this business because their phone number's on the pen. Right.
Yeah, I'm not like, oh yeah, I really
Ah,
did.
I
really do
forgot.
need a lawyer who can handle this particular medical
Right.
situation. Calling right now.
So I want to ask this question because this is something that I personally recently struggled with, where I went after a design that was not just my logo. It was just something that was loosely related to my channel. And me and my mods went back and forth for a long time deciding if we should fit loco.tv or like loco somewhere in the design, because on one hand, like, you know, if you want people, if someone buys the shirt because they think it looks cool, then you want them to be like, oh, I got this from loco.tv apparently.
Such a good question.
And you know, but on the other hand, it's like it does kind of take away from the clean look of just like the design. So what, especially you're like Rockhart, like what is your perspective on doing something like this?
Yeah, there's a few ways to definitely tackle that. And it's definitely something I've struggled with too. Oftentimes, if there's not a clever way to incorporate the word Rockhart onto the design itself, I usually don't put it on the front, unless it's specifically I want it to be a Rockhart like logo tee. Oftentimes, I'll either print it on the inside of the tag so that that person who has it, when they put it on, they see the logo in the morning when they put it on, and they may not remember it when someone asks, but at least they know it's kind of there, like, oh, it's, you know, it's in the back. Or what I've done for a lot of people, and I have thought about doing in the past, but it's another like print location, which adds into costs and gets really into the weeds, is putting it on the back of the t-shirt itself, just having that little logo or website or whatever, and the person would be like, oh, it's just, you know, it's this guy over here. Yeah, I think as long as you can
feel really good. Because that was my plan, was I've got a lot of things I don't want to invade with like logo or anything, but I can print, I can do my own custom tag on a lot of the stuff.
I take the tag out and it's just a screen printed tag on the inside.
Yep, that's what I'm going for, is tagless tee with a screen print.
And it's more comfortable anyways. Like you have to have all the info that's on the tag.
I literally, that was one of the first things I did, was like, okay, I need to have this designed. And I said, I want this design, and I want the date put on it, because at the end of the year, no, I'm not printing out any more of these shirts. Yeah. So like you get it
that's an awesome idea.
That's cool. Ooh, I'm writing that one down too. So
yeah, unfortunately, I know at TBH, like, I don't think that's an option. Like, I think you can do something on the back, but it does cost extra, like to the point where the shirt would be
it
like,
will with any place,
really pricey, and then you couldn't really make money off of it either.
There are a lot of fulfillment companies that's already wrapped up in the cost. Like they've like what you pay one flat rate regardless of like whether you get a lot of them will give you like front, back, and sleeves. But you're already paying that premium regardless. So
So if you don't have the option to put on the back, you only have the option to put it on the front. Do you find a way to make it work no matter what? Or do you just say, you know what, some of these designs are like just for people who think they look cool, and if they remember the store, they remember the store?
If it doesn't feel
honestly,
natural,
that's the approach I would take. Yeah, if it doesn't look good, then
agree.
If it doesn't feel natural, don't do it.
Consideration when I was a painter, I refused to sign the work on the front for the majority of my career for that exact reason. There were works where I could actually balance out the composition of the image with my signature, and that was the only time that I would actually put it on the front of the piece, because otherwise I felt like it was distracting from the actual design itself. And there's just as much branding that goes into artist recognition in the gallery world as there is with this kind of stuff. It's a really interesting and curious fight. And I still fight with myself about when to put it in. And this is like 12 years down the road.
Right, because people recognize the signature.
And I think the idea that that a mark will ruin the composition. I think that's like, I couldn't think of a better way to say that.
Yeah.
Like if you have a really cool design, you do not want to mess with that. And if putting like your mark, your loco face on it, for instance, just in the corner.
Put your best loco face on it.
So well, okay. So I actually have the concept of Benny Head, which is a little cartoon, like the little toon Benny that we've got here. I have that as a separate asset, and that's like, okay, we've marked something, we mark it with the Benny Head, mark it with Benny Head. And if it doesn't work, then take it out, because it's not helping. It's not help. Like, I mean, if it ruins the design and you know, people still buy it, then basically I've bought them a shirt that looks like crap.
Yeah.
You know, because I decided I absolutely had to have a URL or a mark on it.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, also, if you do something like twitch.tv/loco, like, I don't know, what if Mixer buys you for like $10 million? Like, what?
That's one of the things I didn't like about the Teespring shirts, is that they always had the Twitch logo on the side there. And it's like, well, at what point does this become mine?
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic of having your own like domain, so you can just point everything to that, because you're never getting that up.
Yep.
But yes.
Okay, so I want to talk about limited runs versus permanent, because we kind of touched on it for a second. I want to know the value of having things. I know, I'm so excited. I want to know these things. Having things out there, because you see streamers do limited runs, like a 30-day or 2-week campaign or something, and then they're gone forever. There's actually like new clothing stores popping up that base their merch entirely around this concept of purely limited merchandise. So what is your guys' take on that?
I think in moderation, it makes a lot of sense. If everything you do is on a timed release, people are eventually going to miss out on something they really want and going to get upset about it.
Yes.
If you hype up specific things, so like for my 5th year anniversary, I did a whole box set. I had a custom printed box, custom printed T-shirt, a flask, some other really cool stuff that was only going to be in this box, and sold that as a thing. And like, okay, there's 25 of these things. It starts for, you know, I mean, this is stuff I already had to like make, so it was limited in that it was available right then. But I've also done ones where it's okay, you have a week window to pre-order this, and then after that, you're not getting more. Like for April Fool's Day, I did a variation of rock icon, this thing where it was actually flipping the bird instead of rocking.
Inverted a little bit.
Yeah, and you could only buy it for a week, and I sold enough to send it to the printer, and those are the only people that are going to have that shirt. Although I might do it next year because it was kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, limited releases when they make sense for like holidays, or if it's a big event. Like, let's say you're really excited for a game, you commission a designer to make a T-shirt based around that game, and you do a pre-order. I mean, obviously you don't want to like totally rip the game off. You want to have your art be inspired. That's also a struggle I always work with. Yeah, for legal reasons. Yeah, you shouldn't just copy their main characters. You should have it be your own thing. Like if you want to do something like that would be a really awesome idea. But if like every single design you're releasing is only available for a week, that first of all takes away how special limited releases are. And also, if someone misses one, they're gonna feel like shit because they just weren't checking their email that week, or went on vacation, or didn't know
I was
this
waiting
was
for the
happening.
word special,
or paycheck hasn't come through, or
or they don't have money. Like they didn't know to save for it because you do this every week,
or you got
and they haven't been able to save up.
That's like
show up.
It was like I was just actually talking about this today, with my wife. I was like, you know, we need to make a Benny Ugly sweater for Christmas. Well, that's the thing that makes sense to be like a limited run. Like it should be a limited run in Christmas. Of course, my store's not going to be ready yet, so I could either put it on DBH, in which case, because of the way that my DBH, my agreement with DBH works, is I put things up in seasons, and they put things. You know, like I could actually go in and control the store, but my agreement is things will go up for a season. So limited run might happen just in December, or it might happen till the end of January. So, you know, I don't necessarily control that. I know I could, but I kind of want to protect that. Like, hey, look, we've talked about this. This is how things are going to work. I don't want to like throw a wrench into the situation. But another thing that you had brought up was putting your like using a logo that was in a game or using assets from within a game. I was a big Division player for a very long time, and one of the things I did, the Division logo is this phoenix on an orange circle that says Extremis Malice Extrema Remedia, and I actually replaced the Extremis Malice Extrema Remedia with the Extremis Toppings Extrema Burrito, and I took the phoenix out and put Benny's face in and made his eyebrows the wings of the phoenix, like flaming into the. And I actually sent that to Ubisoft and said, I sent that to my contact at Ubi and was like, hey,
cool.
I've got this. I need, can you shop this internally and see if this is going to be okay? And the response I got from them was, look, I can't tell you that this is legal, not legal, but what I can tell you is that we have not defended this brand. Other people are doing the same thing. We've not defended. So, like if you want to talk to your attorney, like precedent is basically set that you are totally okay to do this. And that guy's now wearing, he actually has a shirt and a hat with that.
That's awesome.
That emblem on it.
That is awesome. That is a whole other topic too for a whole other stream.
Art
based on video games and how much is too much. And that is something that I've done.
Oh yeah, and the method
with this brand. Yeah.
The method I went through is not like, I would not recommend anybody just take the word of some CM, but there was plenty enough that when I talked to my attorney, he was like, yeah, we could totally defend you from this. Like this is, this is within the space of like, you should feel.
There's a little bit of know the situation, kind of a read the room thing. Like something I was looking into recently was Monster Energy. Apparently they're incredibly litigious, and with even some situations, they've literally tried to stop certain brands from using the color green when they've already had some kind of a perceived infringement on their own logo or copyright at all. They're like, you know what? You already stepped a little bit into the uncomfortable zone. We're going to go ahead and say
T-Mobile did the same thing.
You can't have the letter M in any of your branding. There's nothing. So you gotta be able to read that a little bit. But
that's something I definitely want to get into. Like we got to get a lawyer on the show, to really dive into that, because I would love to know that. It's speaking of like legal stuff. I know that right after the show, actually, your brand, your business is going to be on. Talking about FTC stuff, which is like super important for streamers. So that's gonna be in literally 9 minutes from now, right after the show ends. Anyways, what's up? What's up, my lawyer friend? How you doing? We'll see you on the show in a few minutes. But yeah, that's definitely an area that that's super important to know. I guess like we only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure we cover the most important things. And any like big things that we should mention for streamers that are looking to either set up their own merch store or fix their current one or revise theirs?
I really want to quickly talk about printing methods. It's kind of boring, but it is good to know at least the basics. So direct to garment is using a bubble or inkjet printer. Basically, it's like running a t-shirt through a color printer. That's what a lot of the print on demand, actually that's pretty much all the print on demand sites use. That is pretty good. It depends on the t-shirt, what is actually the fabric used, if it's black or white or however they lay that down. They've gotten a lot better over the years too. It's definitely not as horrific as it used to be, and a lot of that stuff does. I mean, with all technology, like printer technology is still stuck in the 80s. I don't know why they can't make it easy to print things anymore. The whole nother topic. So that's my print side coming out. So direct to garment is definitely like what all the one-off print on demand stuff people use. Some will use iron-on as well, but that is really old school. That's printing onto an iron-on piece of plastic that you literally iron on to the shirt. It feels like you're wearing a piece of plastic. Definitely avoid iron-on. That's when you can feel it. Screen printing is kind of the industry standard. There are many different types of screen printing inks and many different kinds of methods that you can do with it, but there are definitely cheap versions of screen printing and nice versions of screen printing. I personally use discharge ink, which actually dyes the fabric of the t-shirt, so you can't really feel the print on top of it. On the reverse side, you can go heavy plastisol, where it feels like you're wearing a shield. If you're
you've
getting
ever worn a
into
t-shirt that
actually
feels like-
paying for a run of t-shirts, you should definitely get samples from your printer and
Yeah.
definitely look into printing methods that they have
And
available
know
to
the
them,
method
because
in
not
advance for okay.
Yeah, every
definitely get samples.
fulfillment provider will provide you samples.
Sure.
If they
And
don't,
if they
you
don't,
you need to deal with business with them.
exactly.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't mess with them if they can't provide samples, or at the very least point you in the direction of a store that they have physically made things for.
Yeah, you don't get what you
Oftentimes
expect.
you will have
get
to
what
pay
you
for
inspect.
samples. Sometimes you don't. But be prepared to spend a little bit on samples if you need to. And the last one is dye sublimation, which is super large scale. If you get to this point, you're probably not even dealing with production of the shirts yourselves. It's not something I'm even considering touching for a long time. This is like thousands of shirts printed in China. There are like smaller scale stuff that will do something similar to that, but like if you're thinking like shirts that show up in Walmart or stuff like that, oftentimes those really soft ones, the really high quality stuff, even like the patterned clothing, all that stuff is usually dye sublimation, and oftentimes requires a huge product run to do something like that.
A lot of times when you look at a shirt that's like, oh, this is a retro or vintage shirt, it's either dye sublimation or like that mid-range cheap screen printing.
Yeah, and the advantage of dye sublimation is it's all colors. Screen printing, you pay per color, so it can get expensive. You can do a CMYK kind of print where they just print all those 4 colors and get like a half-tone effect on it, which can look cool depending on the design. And direct-to-garment and iron-on are full color as well, because it's literally just running through a printer.
Okay,
so
one
each have
last
their
one
own.
that showed up for me was working with artists. Pay them as much as you absolutely can. If they
Also
have given you an
specify,
invoice, tip.
like you need to specify
Yeah,
that
what
it's
you
for
want.
sale, like for a merchandise store, not just, you can't just ask for a design because it costs more money. I mean, it's commercial rights to take a design and resell it. So make sure you specify that it's for merchandise.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I do a lot of freelance work, and yeah, first off, be specific, have visual inspiration if you can, even a pencil sketch, even if it's horrible, even as a stick figure, at least give them kind of a frame of reference to at least give you some concepts. They're probably work with the artist. Don't expect it to be amazing in front, especially if it's a big illustration. They're going to give you sketches. Don't expect like a finished piece.
You got to work back and forth a little bit.
There is a process.
Yeah.
Do not try to negotiate with them on price. They are pricing it for a reason. If you have a service that they can benefit from, maybe you could offer some sort of trade benefit. Do not try and pay them with exposure.
That's not
never.
Don't do it.
And it actually has been my experience that an artist is going to lowball you. They're going to actually give you a price that is way below what.
Oftentimes, artists are super excited to work on these projects.
Yeah.
Unless you're like some huge streamer name, then they're probably going to like mark it up because, again, it's a commercial right. It's getting sold way more than if it's a small streamer.
And it's still going to be totally worth that to you anyway.
And it'll still be worth it, yeah.
The last 2 artists I worked with, that's basically what I told them. I said, I think you're lowballing me. Why don't you come back with a price that makes this worth your while? Because I want you to say, when I come back to you and ask you for more work, I want you to be able to easily say yes.
I almost invariably will tip way above their invoice. All right, we've got to get out of here because we got another show. After this. There's so much more to talk about.
I know.
There is so much more to talk about.
In the Patreon, go to patreon.com/StreamerSquare where you can check out all of our behind the scenes stuff and a heck of a lot more if you want to support us with what we do here, with all the things that you see every week. You can of course just drop a buck or two. Set it and forget it and let it roll. Keeps the lights on, keeps us able to do the things that we do. Thank you, BennyFits, Rockhart, you 2 buttes, for joining us and sharing your wisdom and expertise. If you want to give us a quick little tidbit about you, where we can find you, who you are, websites, if you got them, throw them at us.
I'm BennyFits. You can find me at twitch.tv/BennyFits and on Twitter at BennyFitsTV. The TV is important. If you don't do that, you'll get some dude in the Philippines who's, I think, is like basically locked down his account because people are looking for me. I stream Tuesday through Saturday. This week I'll be doing Destiny 2, catching the reset on Tuesday, and then more Jedi Fallen Order. And then I think this weekend we're gonna jump into some Switch games, do some Pokemon finally, and Super Lucky's Tale.
Heck yeah. Oh, that game's fun.
Oh,
That's a good
hashtag
platforming
ads.
game.
So much fun.
Okay. What about
All
you,
right, yeah.
Rockhart?
Yeah, my name is Rockhart. You can find that ROCKHRT on Twitter, Instagram, and of course Twitch. My website for all my clothing is rockhart.tv or rockhart.shop. I can give you a longer one, but those are the easier ones. I do also stream. I stream everything that I feel like playing. I also do creative streams, and I do record streams as well, where I actually take record requests from viewers. Something
Cool.
that my lawyer friend has been helping me out with, actually.
That's awesome.
So I stream Saturday, Sunday, and Mondays. And yeah, I've been playing Pokemon Shield, absolutely loving it. And I will probably be continuing that for the next few weeks, or at least as long as it takes.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
I'm the Hunter Wild. You can find me at the hunterwild.tv. That's not true. At twitch.tv/thehunterwild. I don't know where I was borrowing from parroting other people. I stream now at 11 a.m. All kinds of stuff currently going through Death Stranding because it's one of the top games
So
of the
good.
decade, in my opinion.
So good.
Still rolling through that. Got through 60 hours as of today. Going to be probably putting in 80 in total. Got the new Star Wars game I'm going to be jamming out on, I think, at some point soon. And right here every Monday alongside my incredible co-owner, co-host. Well, she doesn't co-own me, but this stream.
Not yet.
Not yet. The plans are in the works. This thing that we call StreamerSquare. Loco, what about you?
First, I want to say don't go anywhere, guys, because we have another show right after this talking about
Yes.
FTC guidelines with an actual lawyer. So if you want real, actual advice with someone who is legally a professional at this, stay tuned. Anyways, you can find me at twitch.tv/loco, LOWCO. I am in love with Death Stranding. I am playing that. I'm playing Star Wars, both at the same time. All week, I don't know what to do.
How do you
I'm
handle so much
playing
goodness?
both
I
of
was
them.
saying that, yeah.
That's a lot of good.
So I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about myself. But if you guys enjoy this content, you should stick around. We've got a show right after this. We have several shows every single week. You can check the schedule below our Twitch stream. Otherwise, you can find this on YouTube and your your favorite podcasting.
Your local podcast.
Your local podcast. A lot of people have been asking us about this. You need to just search Stream Scene, not StreamerSquare. Unfortunately, that's just the way the podcast labeling works. So search Stream Scene on your favorite podcasting platform, and you will surely be able to find all the
I highly
episodes
recommend
there.
that you can catch up with all this stuff when you're, walking your dog, you're in the shower, you're cooking like me. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Great time to catch up on the Stream Scene.
Yep. All right. We'll see you in just a few minutes on Your Brand, Your Business. Otherwise, Stream Scene will be back next week. Have a great night, everyone. This has been the Stream Scene.
Bye, friends.